Leroy Jordan. Leroy Jordan, I hope you're doing well, sir. Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Hey, Ryan. Man, I'm glad to be there. Glad to be with you.
No doubt. I mean, all of us Crimson Tide fans, I don't know what it is. We're just walking a little, our head kind of poked out a little bit, chest up. I mean, celebrating this national title again in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Well, we have things to be celebrating about. I guarantee you that. That was a miracle comeback in the championship game. With that second half and overtime was really a spectacular deal.
Oh, there's no doubt. Leroy, now can you take us back to where you were watching that game and your reaction when that national championship, final play happened? What was your reaction?
Well, I was watching it on my television, so I was seated in my very best chair. So
okay,
and I think I jumped over the couch in celebration that play. It was so unbelievable and such a great play by the quarterback and the receiver. So it was a great throw and catch.
Well, I want to get into the conversation, obviously, about your book because there's a lot of pieces that I want to dive deeper into and obviously promote it and ask people to go out and support it and where that's going to lead to a scholarship. We're going to talk about that as well, that Leroy has funded for several years, and this is another way that legacy continue. One of the greatest players to ever wear a crimson jersey, Leroy Jordan, right here with us on the game on a Friday afternoon. And Leroy, let me ask you, you heard Eli Gold talking about it just a couple of seconds ago, that Nick Saban has now tied Coach Paul Bear Bryant with 6 national titles. Did you ever think that we would have a coach in college football that would be tying Coach Bryant's record of national titles?
Well, no, I didn't think about it until we got several years into Coach Saban's tenure there, and then it started looking more and more like it, So he's done wonderful things with our program and everything and getting it back to where we Alabama fans want to be.
Leroy, do you see similarities between the two?
Yes, I think they're teaching young men how to be men, no matter whether they're in business or playing football. Coach Bryant always said he was teaching us the game of life instead of the game of football, and honesty, integrity, and hard work and teamwork and all those things that have to go into no matter what profession you're in, no matter what you're doing later in life. And you can see that by the number of guys that come back and visit Coach Saban every year. He has a tremendous group of young men that have bought into his teachings as a person and as a father figure. That's just like I consider Coach Bryant my second father. I think most of these guys are seeing that with Coach Saban,
And I want to spend time here. The leadership that Coach Bryant taught you, you went on obviously as a great player for the University of Alabama, national champ, captain. I mean, we could go through. You were also a captain 12 years for the Dallas Cowboys, a Super Bowl champion, played 3 times in the Super Bowl. You're in the Ring of Honor there in Dallas, and certainly they recognize you for your achievements in the National Football League, but we also recognize your achievements here at the University of Alabama. Did that leadership that Coach Bryant gave you or taught you, did that help you becoming, when we say the captain of the Dallas Cowboys for 12 years, that's an incredible accomplishment within itself.
Yes, his teachings did help me in every way with that, and I didn't, even after I was in the pros, I wanted to be able to call Coach Bryant and talk to him in the off season, during the season, and feel good about myself, and feel like that he would be proud of me and what I was accomplishing. So I was always taking pride in what he would think of me later in life.
We were talking to Leroy Jordan. Leroy, I've known you for probably 10 years or so. I've featured you here on this program, and I've always enjoyed the conversations. But just picking up from the book and kind of picking up little nuggets, I never knew that you were personal friends with Elvis Presley and John Wayne. You never shared those stories.
Well, I got to meet those guys and got to be with John Wayne several times. He came to our training camps out in California and then came here to one of his movie expos here and celebrating the opening of it here in Dallas. And he gave me and some of my teammates a commemorative rifle that he used in the Chisholm movie in 1976, I believe, is the date on that movie. But it was just wonderful getting to know those guys, and I met Elvis a few times and just had a great relationship with him. He admired Coach Bryant so much, and we had a lot to talk about when we talked about football and everything.
So was Elvis a football fan? I mean, was he did
yes.
he? Okay.
Yes, he was a football fan and a real fan of Coach Bryant. So, he grew up in the South and knew Coach Bryant was from the country in Arkansas, and he identified with him a lot in a lot of ways. So it was really special getting to sit down and talk with him about 45 minutes about Coach Bryant and everything.
Some notes here that I've taken, being the first person picked in the NFL draft, and I say only because probably in the early 60s, this was probably a ton of cash, but $17,000 a year. That seems like, man, you took all those hits for $17,000 a year.
Oh, well, no, I made 17.5 my first year.
Oh, my apologies. My apologies.
No, you can't cut me out of that that $500 back then because I was counting every one of them.
And your signing bonus was a new car, Leroy, right?
Yes. Well, it was a new car, and funny story about that, on the way back, Gil Brandt was going to bring it back to me. I had to go back for exams. Finals were coming up, and so I couldn't stay out here and drive the car back. And so he said, I'm coming next week. I'll just drive it over for you. And over in Mississippi, he hit a cow on the interstate and wrecked my new car. So I had a new wrecked car as part of my bonus.
Now, what kind of car was it, Leroy? I'm just curious.
Well, it was a Buick Riviera. I wanted a Chevrolet, Impala or something like that because that's all I'd ever known. And we got out here, and he said he wanted me to go look at the Buicks, and I said, "Oh, okay. Well, I'll go look." And Riviera came out that week, and it was a special car, and it was a sporty car and everything. And so I went for the Buick Riviera. So it was really nice car, too.
And you look at Gil Brandt, what an awesome legend of football, the way that he spent time with the Dallas Cowboys, still in the media business today. And really, I think there's ties back to the way that Nick Saban evaluates recruits is the Gil Brandt system that you guys had at the Dallas Cowboys, the evaluation of what Nick Saban is looking for in a linebacker, defensive back, wide receiver, those demographics and those characteristics. I believe that was designed by Gil Brandt, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Gil Brandt was the first guy that went on computer and had, speed, height, and jumping height, and everything else. He took all the categories of an athlete that he could measure and put them down on the computer and computerized the scouting system of that time. And I think Coach Saban still uses a lot of that.
Leroy, as we get ready to approach the Super Bowl, can you give us a little insight in what's it like to be in a game that's this magnitude, that this much attention, not just in this country, but across the world, will be dialed into the Super Bowl. Can you give us a little insight into that?
Well, it is an unbelievable week of work, and you have an opportunity to not only show your ability and wares, but your character and the person you want everybody to see you as. It's a great place to show your wares and everything, and show your ability, and as well as your type of person you really are. So,
is there one Super Bowl memory that stands above the rest, in your opinion, for you personally?
Well, my Super Bowl memory is we won against the Dolphins in Super Bowl VI, and it was such a great time because we had been so close for the year before. We lost in the Super Bowl to Baltimore Colts, and before that we'd lost several championship games that put Green Bay and other teams into the Super Bowl, and so we were disappointed a number of times, and so we were so excited about finally getting our win that and we had a really terrific time celebrating when we got our Super Bowl rings.
Let me also ask you about Coach Stallings. It's somebody that we feature here every Wednesday at 5 o'clock. We have a chance to feature Coach Stallings, and he tells us stories of Dallas Cowboy in his days, and we just love to be able to tap into that encyclopedia of football. You played for Coach Stallings here at the University of Alabama, but went on, obviously, with his connections with the Dallas Cowboys. What does Coach Stallings mean to Leroy Jordan?
Well, he is such a special guy. He's such a great person, as well as being a great coach. And he would work with me after practice every day, throwing the football to me as many times as I could run and catch it. And he worked on my interceptions, and I think that's the reason I was able to, make as many interceptions as I did in my pro career. Is Coach Stallings working with me every day to get the confidence and everything. If I got my hands on the ball, I could catch it, And so he's just a great coach. I played for him about 10 years here in Dallas, and he was the defensive coach and defensive backfield coach, and we had a linebacker coach named Jerry Tubbs. But no, he's just such a great man, and he was so helpful in me establishing my career, and he was there in support of me at all times, during my college career and about 10 years with me at the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, Coach Stallings is just an absolute awesome. Now he never put you on workout on the ranch, did he? Because he always talks about how he got his daughters. He would test the potential boyfriends or potential the men in their life. He said he'd put them on the ranch digging fence posts just to make sure that they were the quality individual. Did he ever put you out there, Leroy?
Oh, well, no, but if I came out and he was working cattle, he'd make me get down and work the chutes, and he'd always get you involved in whatever he was doing, and that's the way Gene was. He wanted everybody to be involved.
Leroy, you obviously hold the record there for the NFL, most interceptions by an inside linebacker, but I want to go back and just ask you a final question here. If Leroy Jordan wasn't this linebacker that we know, legendary player at the University of Alabama, legendary player for the Dallas Cowboys, the NFL, from Excel, Alabama, what would Leroy Jordan have done if he wouldn't have been the football player that you were? What would Leroy Jordan and went back to Excel, Alabama have done?
Well, I would have been the best farmer in Excel, Alabama, because that was what I'd learned to do, and from my parents and everything, to be the best that I could be in whatever I could do. And Coach Bryant and the coaches at Alabama certainly instilled that in me at Alabama. And, and with Coach Tom Landry, he didn't let it fall up by the wayside any out here. And having guys like Gene Stallings and Jerry Tubbs and people like that on the coaching staff really helped me implement my spot in life.
Well, Leroy, I'm so excited that you have done the book, and it's going to be awesome. I know it's just been out for a few months, but tell us about and I thought it was unique about the portion or the profits that's going to be made from this book is going to go right back to the University of Alabama and help fund a scholarship from individuals that are from your area there.
Yes, the Dallas-Fort Worth chapter of alumni out of here, we've had a scholarship for the last 10 years or so, sending students to the University of Alabama. So, and this academic scholarship is what we work on, and trying to get the best and the brightest students we can from the Dallas-Fort Worth area to go to the University of Alabama, and that's what the proceeds are going to go to from my standpoint.
It's an awesome book. Leroy, My Story of Faith, Family, and Football. Leroy Jordan, thank you again for what you mean to the University of Alabama, and thanks again for your sharing your story in the book and talking with us here on The Game. I greatly appreciate the conversation, and I hope we can visit down the road. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Ryan Fowler. We'll talk to you soon, man.